Hello, this is Rocky Marciano. When I was heavyweight champion of the world, they called me the Brockton Blockbuster. You find out why.
Welcome to the Rocky Marciano Archives, a channel dedicated to the life and career of the immortal champion. In this edition, we continue the story of Rocky's short but explosively successful amateur career. Following his victory in the Lowell Golden Gloves, link for that episode can be found in the description should you wish to hear that story. Rocky qualified to participate in the New England tournament, again held in Lowell. It is a matter of conjecture as to what permeated through his mind as he stood once again in the magnificent Memorial Auditorium, gazing at the two-tier seating that seemed to stretch forever upwards, dissected as it was at this time by a vast banner which read, Lowell Sun Charities New England Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions, which stretched halfway around the interior of the imposing venue. Or indeed his mindset as he stepped foot again in that roped arena which he would later describe as the best ring I ever fought in, especially as he knew that the majority of those present had come to see him lose. It was only really Lowell's own sports columnist John F. Kenney who would voice his opinion in the state champion's favor, recognizing that he was more puncher than boxer. Indeed, he would become one of Marciano's most vociferous supporters in the early years. On that first night of competition, February 17th, 1948, the crowd would not get their wish. Indeed, they would not even get the chance to see their nemesis so much as climb between the ropes, nor even leave his dressing room, which he shared with the 7 remaining members of the Massachusetts team. For prior to the scheduled bout, it was announced that his drawn opponent in the initial semifinal, a certain Ralph Piscope, winner of the Maine Heavyweight Championship, had forfeited the bout, leading Marciano to be declared the winner by default, leaving a bemused Rocky, wishing to believe that it was fear which directed his opponent to abandon the fight, to dress and venture out into the crowd to watch the remaining bouts in order to see who he would be pitted against in the final scheduled for the following day. The reason for Piscope's withdrawal would be explained by the Brockton Daily Enterprise as due to the brand-new addition to his family, which required his stay at home. Was there perhaps a hint of reticence about his withdrawal, however, as Rocky believed? There are those who knew him in life who will adamantly claim that he was not a coward. Of that they are right. He was not. No man who served his country whilst at the same time juggling a young family and attempting to better his lot in life by studying law, as Piscope did. In fact, no man who steps between the ropes to fight could ever be called a coward. There was, however, perhaps some flaw in his fighting character, which would show itself the very next year when he once again made it to the New England finals. This time he would fight, and it would be against the much-hyped Pete Fuller. Frank Sargent of the Lowell Sun recorded it thus. Pete Fuller faced a fellow named Ralph Piscope of Maine, who seemed all the world like he had gotten into the ring by mistake and was looking for a path out. Fuller scored with a series of rights to the breadbasket and had his bigger foe in agony as early as the first round, although Fuller didn't put out the lights until the 3rd round. Sure, Ralph was no coward, but the evidence seems to point to a distaste for taking punishment, or at least folding when the odds seemed stacked in favor of his opponent. Perhaps against the Brockton boy, he knew the odds were absurdly on the side of his competition. Discretion, it seemed, may definitely have been the better part of valor. Meanwhile, the heat to find Rocky's opposite number back in '48 was fought between Dave Hinckley, the champion of Vermont, and pre-tournament favorite, who moved with the speed of a light heavyweight against the slower-moving New Hampshire champion George McGinnis. The bout was a huge anticlimax. It lasted a little over a minute with Hinckley being counted out after seemingly stepping into a right hook. Once again, it set up a mouth-watering prospect with 2 punchers squaring off in a final within the Lowell ring. The following night of February 18th, The auditorium again rang to the voices of a capacity crowd ranging from the working man eager to witness a good bout to civic dignitaries eager only to be seen. The applause meted out to both McGuinness and Marciano was equally respectable. Everyone believed this one would not go the distance, yet none could or would lay it on the line and choose a winner. Most were in accord, however, when they agreed that the man they felt had the easiest job that evening was the referee Joe Zapustas. As long as he could count to 10, he would do okay, said McMullen with a nod at the power both fighters carried into the ring. At the outset, they tore into each other with savage abandon. McGuinness because he was fueled by his earlier stoppage victory, Rocky because he knew no other way. For a full 2 minutes, the carnage reigned. Then suddenly a big left hook from Marciano landed on the right side of George's face. In an instant, his right eyebrow exploded. A shower of blood vomited out onto spectators seated at ringside. Referee Zapustas had no option but to stop the action and inspect the injury. It was horrific. Not needing a second opinion from the ringside physician, he called a halt to the fight then and there. No one in the crowd complained, particularly those in the front row. Now the boy from Brockton had added the New England Heavyweight Championship to his Massachusetts and Rhode Island titles. For his efforts, he was presented with a resplendent sash belt complete with, according to the Brockton Enterprise again, suitably engraved golden gloves belt buckle, also more new ring equipment, including boxing shoes and a new silk robe. Rocco Francis Marciano had announced to the world beyond his beloved Brockton that finally he was on his way, but oddly, for now, the world wasn't listening. Gene Caggiano, Rocky's erstwhile manager, wasn't so much listening as watching, and what he was seeing moved him to the thought that he finally had someone with potential, no matter how limited. Indeed, he was ebullient over his charge's victory. I refer to the Brockton Enterprise once again, who quoted him as saying, "Rocco did very well, smart in following up and taking advantage of that first important blow, and his opponent didn't have a chance for a comeback, not laying a glove on our champion." Caggiano knew he was on to something now and wanted to protect his investment. Therefore, he decided to put local champion under an informal contract, which read as follows. Agreement made this 27th day of February 1948 between Rocco Marciano, 168 Dover Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, and Generoso Caggiano, also known as Gene Caggiano, 797 Warren Avenue, Brockton, Massachusetts, as follows. In consideration of the time, efforts, and teachings of Gene Caggiano to Rocco Marciano in the art of boxing, the said Rocco Marciano agrees with Gene Caggiano that in the event of the said Rocco Marciano should turn professional and enter the professional field within the next 5 years, the said Rocco Marciano will enter into a contract with Gene Caggiano to retain Gene Caggiano as manager. The above was witnessed by those named, and by Rocco's brother-in-law, Vincent Pereira. It was an agreement which Marciano would soon conveniently forget. To his chagrin, however, Caggiano would not forget, and this innocuous piece of paper would come back to haunt them both in the not-too-distant future. Thank you for listening. We here at the Archives genuinely appreciate your valuable time and support. We hope, too, that you got something out of this. Until the next time, when we will continue to explore the remarkable life of the immortal champion, we will see you down the road.
If you like this content, then hit the subscribe button. To really support this channel, consider joining for just over $1 a month and unlock ad-free members-only content. Every member will play a key part in revealing the real Rocky.
As soon as the bell rang, it was a completely different person going out there, and I couldn't explain it except I just enjoyed combat. I just enjoyed the sport that I had learned so well, and I had practiced so much that when the bell rang, I did a job. I could concentrate on the opponent. The fight itself was strictly to prove myself as a fighter. I had to prove that I was a better man.